I just want to start off by first congratulating you on all your recent success and being included in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. So congratulations to you there, and also in securing your Series B round from Sequoia back in January this year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Can you take a minute and share with us and our audience your unique and your impressive background on what your company, Physna, does for those who have not heard about your organization and what you do? Can you fill our audience in terms of what you're doing?
Sure. So Physna is short for physical DNA. And what we do is take three-dimensional data and normalize that into code. So we live in a three-dimensional world, and the vast majority of our economy is centered around hardware, physical goods, but less than 1% of software can actually handle three-dimensional data. And so there are silos where three-dimensional data is created today. What we've done is we've created a process by which we can bridge the gap between what's digital and what's physical, and essentially put that three-dimensional data into a code structure that allows us to know things like how models are related to one another. So one of the most common use cases of Physna, and in fact, a lot of people would probably consider this to be the core use case of Physna, is search. Being able to search not with words, but with shapes. So the file itself is what searches for other files, and it says how things are related to one another. That in turn lets us do a lot of related things. I mean, if you think about it, being able to know how models are related is crucial if you're going to use machine learning and make predictions about how models might need to be changed, or if you want to know how parts might not be aligned correctly in the sense of quality control. So common use cases, the most common use case in the company that we focus on is engineering productivity. A lot of if you're designing something physical, you're only about 1/5 as productive as a software engineer would be, because you don't have copy paste, you don't have reuse capabilities. We bridge that gap by giving you those same basic tools that you would have if you were in software as a mechanical engineer. So you can design faster, you can reuse parts that were designed before, and then later, after you've designed something, we can show how what you've designed is relevant to the rest of the supply chain. So we can show you alternative parts that you could use, that you could buy in procurement, ways of optimizing the supply chain. And then once something's actually built, because we know how these parts are related again, we actually have a really powerful way to search with pictures and scans. So we can tell you exactly what something is that you photographed or that you've scanned in with any kind of scanner. And we can tell you not only what it is specifically, but we can tell you how it relates to everything else. So we can say that's a bolt, but it's not just any bolt. It's a bolt that is used in these different ways and has these different names associated with it, et cetera. So at the end of the day, Physna, to sum it all up, the value proposition that we bring is by allowing you to extract the value of your physical assets, your three-dimensional designs for these assets and scans of them, and utilize those just like you would utilize anything else that's digital.
Gotcha. And is that intended to increase the efficiency and the speed at which they can bring a project to conclusion?
Yeah. So it helps you decrease the amount of time that you need from conception to bring a product to market. So it helps you, the time to market goes faster, but it also lowers costs significantly when you're developing things, right? So it's not just about the idea phase; it's also about the execution phase and the post-execution phase, like maintenance and warehousing. And it all works in a pretty simple way. The way to think about Physna is a similar way to Google, right? Google is a search engine that lets you find things online. Everybody is looking for something different. So the use cases and the value proposition the use cases are different. The value proposition is the same. Physna is basically like that. By understanding how these models are related, there are a lot of values you can extract, or a lot of use cases for that. But the value is that you're able to extract the utility from that data, which wasn't possible before.
Gotcha. And as you think about business plans over the next 3 to 5 years, what are you most excited about?
Historically speaking, 3D data, when you say 3D, people have always assumed you're talking about one of a couple of niche areas like 3D printing, CAD design, you name it. We're going to see a big shift in how people think about 3D. The next frontier really is one that's three-dimensional. And there's good reason to think that from an abstract standpoint and from a concrete standpoint. Concretely, there have been a lot of announcements about AR investments. by pretty much all of the major tech companies, especially in the United States. A lot of focus on augmented reality. And also conceptually, if you ask people, where do you think technology goes from here? Where do you think we'll be from a technology standpoint? How you interact with technology in 5, 10, 15 years from now? Pretty much everybody agrees that we'll eventually leave these behind, right? The smartphone is not the perfect interface. It's not a bad one, but it's not ideal. What people imagine is that instead of input for output, and I push a button and something happens, something happens proactively based on my situational circumstance. And that in other words, I live in a world that technology is immersive, right? So it's enhancing my life without me having to be proactively engaged with it. For that to happen, though, for that next level of technology to be reached, we have to reach a point where software has spatial recognition and, more importantly, spatial reasoning. And so software, even though software is flat, it's written in text, it needs a bridge to actually be able to understand the physical three-dimensional world around it. And so what excites me about 3 to 5 years from now is that we're going to see this major shift to where what we do at Physna won't necessarily seem like a tool for manufacturers or designers or inspectors. It's going to be a tool for everybody. In fact, I can prove that with a product we launched last year, 8 months ago, which is called Thangs, thangs.com, Thangs. And it's a totally free website. And it's the fastest growing 3D community in history. And it gives you a small glimpse of some of the power that Physna has at its core. You can search for models that are related to one another just by uploading your model. You upload your model, we show you parts, not only that are similar to it, but that are inside of it. There's a collaborative process that wasn't possible before. Any part that you upload, we make viewable without you having to do any work. You can immediately view that part in augmented reality, both on iOS and on Android. And we don't even require an app. You can just use the browser on your phone and it'll open up your camera and show you that part in real life. You can preview something. We're seeing so much growth there that if you start to imagine a world where in a year or two from now, we have Apple glasses, let's say, having the ability to decide what you want to add, how you want to augment your reality is going to be a big deal. I mean, ultimately, what people want software to do for them is enhance, improve, and put differently, augment or alter the world they live in, the reality. And 3D is going to make that possible in ways that we can only begin to imagine. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that. One of the things that I'm excited about is how the technology will begin to assess behavior. And that's a lot of what you're talking about when you're talking about ways in an interface, that it's making a determination or an assessment of that behavior or making a recommendation based on what it's perceiving. So that's exciting as well.